The Novi Public Library Board of Trustees meetings is Thursday, October 9, 2025. Let's rise by pledging allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll ask the secretary to do the roll call.
Trustee Bartlett.
Here.
Trustee Burke.
Here.
Trustee Crawford.
Here.
Trustee Dooley.
Here.
Trustee Helvangus here. Trustee Gawalapu.
Here.
Trustee Stirring.
Here.
All present.
It's nice to hear we're all here tonight.
Yeah.
Good.
Woohoo. Yeah.
First item is approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, I ask the secretary to call the vote.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Helvangus says yes. Trustee Gawalapu.
Yes.
Trustee Stirring.
Yes.
And Trustee Bartlett.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of two things: the minutes of September 11, 2025, which was a regular board meeting, and also the approval of the claims and warrants of accounts 271 and 272, which are on pages 12 through 14 of our handout.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, I ask the secretary to call the vote.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Helvangus says yes. Trustee Gawalapu.
Yes.
Trustee Stirring.
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett.
Yes.
And Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Next item on our agenda is a presentation. We're honored tonight to have the Read Japan Project 2025 presented by our International Service Librarian, Shannon O'Leary.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to give you guys this. I'm going to take it and pass it down. I'll send you the digital flyer so it can be included in the board packet.
So what you're looking at is the general pamphlet that they hand out with the Read Japan project. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth, and there's some interesting information I have to share.
Sorry, Shannon.
So many of them.
Like, this is the first time I've had this before. Usually it does not require a verification code.
Ray had to do that to us.
Yeah, she did, right. She did.
As they say, please don't share that code with anyone. It was quick.
Okay. I love how that's. All right.
It's okay. Take your time.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. I apologize. So this is the Read Japan Project. So the Read Japan Project is basically promoting understanding of Japan by donating Japan-related books in English to institutions and libraries. Since its inception in 2008, the project has donated books to over 1,400 institutions worldwide. So they want to give people an accurate picture of Japan through these books. It's mostly targeted at researchers, which is fascinating. But it also gives it to intellectuals and people in areas that are familiar with Japan. So Novi, in retrospect, was kind of the perfect fit. There's been multiple recipients. As I said, there's over 1,400. You can kind of see in this lovely little diagram that there was a big chunk in Europe, and the second largest chunks, interestingly enough, was North America. So there have been a lot of states that have gotten this, for lack of a better word, grant. It is not a grant. It is kind of a donation. But 11 of these 375 donations in North America were in Michigan. And only one other library was a public library, and that was in Dearborn, which I found absolutely fascinating. Okay, so basically, and you'll see this in your packet, we have to be recommended by a Japanese diplomatic institution, embassy, consulate, or permanent mission. What the language actually says on the website is that you have to basically send an email to your local consulate or diplomatic institution signaling your interest in this. The fascinating part is we did no such thing. Out of the blue, and I believe it was June, Julie sends me an email saying, hey, take a look at this. Would you be interested? Take a look, do some research. I'm like, is this real? Like, they're just going to give us these books on Japan? Turns out it's a real thing. So that was a delight. That was very much a delight. So we secured a recommendation from a diplomatic institution, so most likely the consulate in Detroit. And then they screened our application after we submitted it, and we got approved. Yay. So that was a very, very happy day for me. I think they could hear me screaming all the way across the building. I've been told I get very excited about these things. So these titles are actually selected by an international panel of experts, and there's a wide variety of topics. So there's business, politics, society, culture, history, literature, and of course manga and Japanese language. So there are 358 titles to select. I believe you have a limit of 200 and something. We selected about 100, and these titles will likely arrive in late March, early April. They will be put on a ship and sent over to us. Wow. And here are some images of a couple of the books that we have requested. So you can see we've got a book on anime, like about the history of anime and why it's so important. The Tale of Genji is like a classic literature book in Japan. It's kind of applicable to like a historical, it's based in history, but it is an actual fictitious tale. It's really good. We've got fiction books such as The Convenience Store Woman. You can see we've got Bushido, which is the soul of Japan, which is more of a cultural thing, business reinvention of Japan, a manga such as A Distant Neighborhood, Japanese for Busy People, which is our language learning, and Japan America and how Japanese pop culture has invaded the US. So these titles will likely be arriving in sometime March or April, so I do invite anybody who is interested. We will, once we have a date and a arrival of the shipment, we will happily let everybody know, and we will showcase them all. So I invite you guys to come when that opportunity arises.
We'll make sure that we have an unveiling. That's usually what we do when we get large donations.
It has been requested
as
as part of the donation. They want a big PR event.
Yes. Sure.
So that is one of the requests that they have. So we will be doing our best to make this as big of an event as possible, because this is an extremely generous gift that we are receiving. 100 books, fiction and nonfiction, for free.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And we'll make sure our consulate here in Detroit, Shannon has developed a wonderful relationship with the office and is invited and has been invited on many occasions to his home, and has been part of different activities that we've asked her to attend on
for MPL. So Shannon, I thank you for doing that. I know she enjoys it, but it's great to have her. I don't know if you all know, but she does speak fluent Japanese.
Wow.
And is part of most of our ESL, ELL language classes that we offer, and has made some wonderful connections, not only with programming, but also the Japanese school here in Novi. So she's been a wonderful asset to our staff. So we will work with you. We'll let you know, but this is what's coming. We're very excited.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is this something that is renewable for you, like on an every couple year basis? Or?
So, we would have to reapply, which means we would have to signal to the consulate that we were interested, and they would have to write us a letter signaling that, hey, this institution is interested.
Yeah.
And then we would pick books that we have not previously selected.
Right. Okay.
So it is something that we can do again.
In the future.
I think for now, given space constraints and everything else, I think 100 books is wonderful. I think it's lovely, and I think we're pretty happy with 100 books.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. Great job, Shannon.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for pursuing this. I mean, it's a great coup for our library to get this. I mean, and I know we have a substantial Japanese population in Novi, and, I think that probably helps too. I'm curious if you think that a lot of these donations have occurred in Michigan. Is it related somewhat to the auto industry? Do you think there's a little auto industry touch to it or not? Or just coincidence that?
I think some of the universities have requested it. A lot of the universities have requested it, probably in part due to the auto industry. So they've kind of asked for these books on Japan to kind of help with possibly people studying for that. But we also, I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but we do have we have a large sister city program. And then we have a school, and forgive me, I'm blanking on the name, but there is kind of an exchange program out of MSU where you can, through various different colleges, you can actually take lessons in Japan at this one particular institution in Shiga. So it is very unique to Japan, and forgive me, I'm blanking on the name. But it's really a great program. And I think while it's run out of MSU, there are several participating universities, such as Oakland University. I believe Wayne State is one of them. So that would also perhaps explain the requests for Japanese material in Michigan.
Okay.
And I just think the connections we have locally we know that we have many companies, obviously, and we have many, that are living here with us and sharing in the community. We do know that the city is pursuing additional sister city connections, and we're waiting to hear on that, because that would be something that I know Shannon would be very interested in doing more with. And so once we know more about that, we'll definitely keep you posted. But we've shared that we are interested in getting involved if the city does that.
Yeah, so I am on the Michigan Shiga Sister State Board, and I've seen the exchange. I've been over to Japan as part of the exchange, as part of the Ann Arbor delegation, and it is definitely worth pursuing. I think it's phenomenal. It's fantastic just seeing the relationship between the different cities grow and how they learn from each other and they work with each other. And, when we went to Japan, they were delighted to see us. And so it was just, it was wonderful to be a part of that. And I'd love to see that brought to Novi, because I feel like we can really offer a lot.
Before you go, Shannon, do you want, because I know you weren't on microphone earlier, do you want to talk about the November 8th program real quick?
I would love to talk about the November 8th program. So we have two programs, Japanese programs coming up. The first is, I believe, November the 1st in conjunction with the Hinoki Foundation, which is a Japanese English bilingual not-for-profit group. So they're doing like a ghosts or spirit festival, which is called yokai in Japan. So that's November 1st, and so we're really excited about that. But following that, and this is what really had me yelling. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the history of Japan, but prior to World War II, there was an anti-Asian immigration act that was passed. And a lot of people are like fresh out of World War I. They're like, oh, we really don't like this. We don't like where this is going. So there was a reverend who basically said, well, let's see what we can do about this. So he and a bunch of kids created these dolls and sent them over to Japan. Now, Japan's big motto is we repay kindness with kindness. So they, in turn, each prefecture created a doll with accessories and everything else, and the craftsmanship was exquisite. And they sent them over to the US. Long story short, World War II happened. The majority of them were destroyed. I believe we have, and don't quote me on the numbers, I believe we have 11 remaining. So I have the privilege of every year at the DIA doing a story time. So this particular year, they wanted me to do a story time about the friendship dolls. So they've been at the DIA, we did a story about the history of them, and so a couple months ago, I got contacted by my contact at the DIA who handles the Hinamatsuri Fest, or the Girls' Day Festival. So he was talking in his position as the Japanese Cultural Development Coordinator. So he says, hey, we have this friendship doll. It's about 100 years old. What would you say to having a program about it? And we'll see if the craftsman who's going to do some repairs on it can come and talk about it. I said, oh my goodness, absolutely. What an opportunity. So all these organizations, so the Motown Children's Museum, Japanese Cultural Development, Japanese Business Society, and thankfully the city of Novi is lending us this very area. So a lot of people came together to make it happen, and I don't know, guys, I'm really excited. It's about 100 years old. If you haven't seen it at the DIA or you haven't gone down to the Children's Museum to see it, the doll is beautiful. And the accessories are top-notch. The chance to talk to a master craftsman who is working on this 100-year-old doll, I mean. So yes, I was very excited about that.
And that'll be Saturday, November 8th, and remind me the time.
I believe it's at 6:00.
Okay.
Can
Yes.
can I just ask
Yeah.
through the chair, if I could just ask a question? We're really lucky to have you, Shannon, in Novi especially, because we do have a large Japanese population. I'm wondering, and I'm curious about the application, and when you saw it, the application for this program, anyway, how complex was the application for the books?
It wasn't difficult so much as it was time-consuming.
Yeah.
So I had to wrangle, and it was a very short turnaround time. So I had to wrangle about 4 other lovely librarians, and thank goodness they helped. They came through in a pinch. It was very tight turnaround. We had about 3 weeks to pick out our books, select which books we wanted, which books we didn't want, and then I had them submit to me the lists of what they wanted.
So you had to pick out the books before you knew if you could have them, right?
Well, we didn't know if we could have them or not, but we had to, as part of the application, we had to select which books we wanted.
Oh,
So basically it was our name, shipping information, like a paragraph as to why we should have this, and the books we would select if we were chosen. So,
Your books for a collection, to build a collection.
yeah. What was your criteria for choosing the books that you did?
so we looked at the pub date. I did have to remind a couple people that Japan has not changed a whole lot. It is very conservative. It's a lovely country. I adore it. It's wonderful. But, they don't like change, and that's fair. So we looked at that. We looked at holes in our collection. So we had some myth, tale, and legend stuff. I knew that we needed some replacement. So there is a manga series which is considered a classic called Akira. It is a dystopian action series, and I know that it's very popular, and I'm like, well, we're not ordering all the manga. There wasn't that much anyway. And I said, well, we could use some replacements. We're going to go ahead and order all this. I looked at the languages. I said, people are always asking for more Japanese, how do I learn Japanese? How do I learn this? So I went ahead and ordered the more current language learning stuff. And then it was just a matter of, we went for a little bit more of the broader as opposed to the narrower. Because we're a public library, I believe there was one on the youth generation of Japan and how they were affecting the businesses and stuff. And I thought, that's a little bit too narrow, but there was another book on the U.S.-Japan business relations. And I'm like, well, that's a bit broader. We probably want that one. So, but I'm only going, guessing. I did the selection for like a couple things, but the majority of which was done by my wonderful colleagues.
Okay, thanks. Thanks so much.
that's great.
Really glad that you applied for it and looking forward to seeing it. I guess I was kind of thinking they'd all come in and they'd all be together in a section. I wasn't thinking about they're going to be in their own categories.
Yeah, so they're going to be all spread out. I think we'll come up with some way to probably mark them and just let people know that they are part of the Read Japan project. But I think keeping them as one kind of, in one section, we really don't have the space for it. And not only that, but it just gets confusing. If you're looking for how to learn Japanese, you're going to go to the 400s.
Right.
If you're looking for some Japanese literature, you're going to go to the fiction area. So it was just one of those.
And when we do the unveiling, though, you'll see them all together at one
Yeah.
collection. Do you know what I mean? We'll give the chance for everyone to see them for a while before they actually go where they would be found if you're doing
Yeah.
that browsing and looking for that topic.
Yeah, they'll be on a cart. We'll have people take a look at them. Definitely want the community to look.
Kind of plaque or anything made?
Usually we don't do a plaque.
Something?
Yeah,
to thank the-
but we definitely can do dignitary signage, e-newsletter, things like that, that will put out that information. But
Yeah. And
it's kind of hard to do plaques because we
All
get
various
so many
different things.
donations.
That's right.
All our walls would be full of plaques, right? I think there's got to be somewhere to, maybe if we keep it consistent, but I think there's a lot we can do with the social media and the, invitation and stuff and do a big launch of it to make it pretty broad and pretty well out there for a while.
I've given the Japanese newspaper. I'm in touch with the lady that runs it. So I've gotten in touch with her and just gave her a heads up that we may want to nab her for March or April.
Yeah.
Because we did get this project. And she goes, keep me posted, let me know.
Yeah.
And I do, because the Japanese community has been extremely gracious and, they're wonderful. So I have a lot of contacts in that. So I'll probably reach out to a whole bunch of them and be like, would you like to celebrate with us? We're so happy that we can share more information on your culture. Please celebrate with us. You can stop getting a little emotional. But yeah.
And the other thing that we do is we put a book plate in books that are donated specifically or gifted.
Sure.
So that will be in the book as they're shared. They'll know then how the connection was made from the grant. We'll make sure that there's information specific to that. So when they open it, they see that purpose. And Shannon's done a lot of work with actually donations like that with other wonderful sponsors and gifters. So
There's been some really very
Wonderful.
kind
Yes.
community members that really enabled our international collections to
yeah,
get up and running. And it's, especially with the youth area, I can just tell you, it's made a night and day difference. We were able to afford to buy some really nice stuff to replace a lot of our older stuff. It gave me a little bit more leeway to look into new vendors and stuff. So, and circulation has shot way up.
Well, thank you for spearheading this.
Yeah, it's
We
wonderful.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We're very lucky.
Yeah, always my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Shannon.
thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks.
We're now at the point in our meeting for public comment. In order to hear all citizens' comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session. However, it is an opportunity to voice your thoughts. With the library board, citizens must state their first, last name, and address. I do not see anybody coming up for public comment, so I'm going to move on to the reports. There's no student representative report tonight. That's in process of being changed to a Novi Youth Council, is it called? Yes. Next item is the president's report. The first item here is for the board book discussion, Serving Patrons with Disabilities, Perspectives and Insights from People with Disabilities, edited by Cody Laskin. I have to admit, that Carla prompted me with her email this early this week to quick finish and read the book.
Yep.
So I appreciate you doing that, Carla, and I'm going to turn it over to you because you and DEI have worked on this project diligently, so it's more appropriate, I think, you lead this
All
discussion.
right, very good, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to send a reminder, because I know sometimes when you have too much time between when you get the book and when it's easy to put it aside, so very good. So we did meet on September 30th and talked about the discussion coming up. Julie provided us with the staff DEI committee's report that they put together in their spreadsheet with lots of interesting information there. And then for today's report, it was also including the survey stuff or the responses that the staff gave. So I found those very interesting as well. But to get things moving along, I thought we'd just jump in with the questions that I sent in the email. It's just some things to consider. The first one being, on a personal note, what about serving patrons with disabilities most stood out for you or gave you the greatest aha moment? And for me, personally, I think it was the overall feeling of reading the book, again, just sort of reinforcing what I strongly believe about storytelling being such an important tool in helping us all sort of learn how other people live. My own life experiences, I certainly see service dogs places, and, I've had experience with that, but until reading this, I really didn't take I never thought about what it is to have a service dog with you all the time, and to never be able to blend in. You're not going to blend in no matter where you go, and to constantly be, confronted with people like me who, oh, can I pet your dog? Things like that that must just get exhausting after a while. So I just think, again, I think this is a really valuable read in that for each of the various stories, I was able to take something away, even if it wasn't super profound or, it was something that caused me to look at things a different way. So that was my big aha. So I don't know who would like to go next or jump in.
Well, for me, I thought the big aha was sort of the difficulty on both sides. Not just the service provider in terms of how to approach the topic and in particular with the service animals asking the two questions. But I think it's difficult for both sides in that I think both sides have trouble asking the question, answering the questions, because there's a certain sense of privacy that people don't want eroded, and then at the same time, to appropriately deal with the issues, you have to sometimes ask the questions. And sometimes, the other thing was that it's sometimes when you have to enforce the rules, so to speak, it's easier to not enforce the rules, but then other people suffer along the way.
Right.
And I mean, it was kind of seeing both sides of that I thought stood out for me. And then I also think there's been a lot of development in regard to the difference between, service animals and emotional support animals.
Right.
And I can remember years ago that the approach was those blended together, one and the same. And kind of because of the abuses that took place and everybody getting a card or something and say, I have an emotional support dog, how that has evolved in many years and for the better.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I've thought of similar things, that sensitivity of wanting to be sensitive but needing to find information. So, yeah, I agree.
Well, one thing that I noticed is that I saw myself in the book. I guess I never really thought of myself as being disabled, but I think of people that are older, and I always think, oh yeah, I wish I wish the books were higher, and I wish staff would speak slower and enunciate, because I have hearing aids, and I wish the print was larger because I have vision problems. So I saw myself, and I was pleased to see in the book that all of that was addressed, so that as staff read this, they would be able to, maybe at least it would sensitize them a little bit more. I think when we think about, most people, I think when they think about disabled, they think it's a visual thing. You're walking with a cane, or you're blind, or you have a dog, a service animal or something, and you forget that there are many other disabilities that impair a person's life. And the library has such a wealth of technology and things that I'm so out of tech, really, other than, trying to keep up with a few things. But you don't want to go to staff, and like it said in the book, you don't want to be embarrassed or, if you are trying to learn about the new books, the e-books, or books on tape or whatever. They don't even call them that anymore. But if you wanted to learn that, you don't want to go to a staff person that it sounds like they're really doing you a huge favor to give you some information or whatever. Not that I ever would think anybody in our library. I've never had that experience at all. In fact, this reminds me of once when I was in the library, and I think I spoke of this before. I saw an older lady with a cane standing there, and she didn't understand something about her phone and access to technology in the library. And the staff person didn't sit behind the desk, and behind the barrier. They came out and around and were helping her and showing her on a phone. That little bit of thing told me a great deal. If I was the person that was needing some help and I saw that, I would feel so, I would never have any apprehension about coming to the library and asking a question. So I assume that all of our staff are like that. But I know that one person on the first floor, I was so pleased to see that they weren't behind a barrier and tried, because a person that's hard of hearing, you can't, when you have the plexiglass barriers, it's not always easy to hear. So anyway, I saw there were chapters in here about that. And when I first read the book, I had to read it twice. When I first read the book, it was some time ago, and I guess I never really thought about staff having to say certain things when a person brings a service animal into the library. I never thought about it before. It didn't occur to me that they had a certain thing that they had to say or a certain way, and I thought, this is kind of a burden on staff, to have to do that, but then I understood the need for it. And anyway, that was one of the aha things for me.
Well, and I'm just going to jump in quick because it goes back to what Mark said too, because I found it interesting when the author, Cody, talked about how it was a load off when they asked the question. Because for her, it wasn't intrusive. It was, oh, thank goodness they know what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I just wanted to comment that the chapter about, I think it was a little girl that used the, let's call it an iPad, a communication device. I kind of went, wow, I never even heard of that before.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
For speech.
for
Yeah.
speech.
Yeah.
And I just think that some of the stuff is ingrained in certain people to be patient and, if we can learn to be more patient with people, then I think that's like the basic thing I took away from it all.
Well, and that too, I thought with the examples she gave, I can't remember what it was about, think for 45 seconds or
Yeah,
something, and you're like,
right.
that is a long time. Like in our society now, how everything's got to be quick, you feel like you're wasting time if you're not.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was good.
Carol, I did want to mention something else. I did notice in our packets, there was a section there about staff training, the previous staff training. And I noticed under the training topic ideas, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different suggestions for topics about dealing with difficult patrons, generational training. I would like cultural sensitivity, working with differently abled people,
Right.
dealing with patrons with disabilities, inclusive services training, and sign language and simple greetings they wanted to learn. So these are topics, before they even read the book, these are
Yeah.
things that they wanted more information about. So how timely is it
Right.
that we would provide the book and ask staff to read it and offer suggestions? So
Yeah.
I thought that was very
What was the,
great.
mind-blowing.
Julie, I have a question. What was the overall opinion of staff about the book?
I put in a graph for you on page 103. The question was on a scale,
yeah, okay.
a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being excellent, one being poor, how would you rate MPL's service quality to patrons with disabilities, like their response to that? I think that to me says a lot. Where we were, there was only one person, that put, I want to look, because I'm sorry, I realized how small it was when I put the graph together. I shrunk it, and that's my fault.
But
Okay.
Okay,
So we
right.
didn't have any poor, but
Right.
we had okay, but most were good, great, and excellent in terms of the building. In terms of the book itself, I gave you the comments that were in there. I think staff enjoyed it. One of the things that I know staff were worried about not being able to get it read in time, but I really asked them to keep to the deadline just so that we could get their feedback and then share with you and have this conversation. The DEI committee is now meeting regularly, and as you can see from the information that we've put in, there's lots of ideas that have been sparked just from the book itself.
Yes.
And there are lots of, right, exactly. I mean, and we asked it both from a budget perspective, of something that's low-hanging fruit, right? Something that's low budget that we could do, which if you saw, there were a lot of comments specifically about the talking points
Right.
for the service animals. We took care of that.
Right.
We made sure all of our service desks now have that information, and they're not worried about it. It's right there if they should
great.
need it.
Okay.
Yes, we answered that right away. In fact, our first DEI meeting was, what can we respond to quickly that we know that we can take care of without very little, right? Work to be done, but we know it'll make an impact. And so that was one of the first things that we did. But you're going to see a number of things over the next few months. I think the biggest thing, and we had a meeting today, is there are lots of little things that we will continue to work on and report back, but we would like to see a survey created.
Yeah.
So we will take the time to create a survey with very valuable questions we feel we can ask to the community about what can we do specifically on this topic. We don't know unless we ask. And so if we can gear up the question, and I don't want it to be too long because we want to make sure people will take it, but if we can gear it up for early summer, when summer reading starts, we're going to get our biggest bang from meeting with families and because it's our largest and busiest time, we'd like to put that survey out in early summer, use our kickoff and things like that and get that feedback because that gears us into budget then for next year if there's anything bigger to be brought to our attention. But I feel like our staff really does have a good pulse on some of the things that are being asked or some of the things that they see on a regular basis that we can address quickly. For me, I wrote a few things. The building, I'm always looking from a building perspective. So is that something, so I have one of my staff from facilities going through just from an ADA, which is a very basic, but ADA compliance and looking at things. We are ADA compliant, I want to make sure. But is there anything that we need to be looking at, from that perspective? Lori, you said patience and kindness. Yes, that's something that just, from the staff itself, to just be cognizant of that. I think we have a great staff, and I do think they do a wonderful job. But having that mindset, looking at documents, looking at a font, they talk about that in the book. Looking at a font that maybe we should standardize so that it's easier for different people to see it. And that's a font of 12 point. So my board pack is in 10. And yes, I hate to admit that to you, but that means it's just going to get more paper. Or maybe I'll write tighter. But it's things like that. And I wouldn't want someone not to be able to read this information and for us to put it out there and make it valuable to them. So I think, flyers, when we look at flyers, we try to put so much on there and then we bring down the font. Well,
Not only the font, it's the color.
colors too.
Yeah,
You're
right.
absolutely right. And we talked
Right.
about that. Name tags is something that came up where we love our wood name tags that we made in the iCube, but they're difficult to read.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you will be getting new name tags because we are getting new name tags.
Okay.
But, we've noticed those things. We want to show from the IQ perspective, which, yes, but then we want to make sure people can see things too. So that written, the website, our website, we've got some guidelines that are being mandated by us in the next year that we have to make sure are fitting and compliant. And then training for the staff. You saw, and you mentioned some of those things. Our staff is always looking for that, and we will look at ways that we can provide more training to them. So, yeah.
So yeah, when we were in our board meeting for DEI, I had like tried to write like a whole bunch of notes because when I was reading the book, I was thinking about policy, like how are we handling things already? What do we need to change or update? And then Julie came to the meeting with the spreadsheet. The staff was already there was I was like everything's covered. I don't have anything left. But I think like for the survey, Julie, one of the things I wanted to ask was maybe we can find out if we do need to have other formats available just for the specific community that we're trying to get feedback from. Because digitally is the best for most people.
Right.
But then we might need it in Braille, we might need it in audio. Like there might be different ways in order to touch that community.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be the best person to ask, but
Right.
I think that
Right.
if we could find that out.
I think what's amazing is the staff, so we do have a Braille collection.
Yep.
You know, we started that, and that actually was from some wonderful donations with seedlings out of Livonia. And so when we have those opportunities to have things like that granted to us or donated or even purchased, you know, we've looked at ways that we can provide that. Going back to the survey, though, and I do agree with you, this is the best time to really see where the pulse is from the community.
Yes.
And we've not, what I also appreciate about doing this work is through this, the staff and the board DEI committee and all of you, is that it's going to be specific to this topic so that we can, drill down a little bit and get some really good feedback and information if we can and use it in that perspective.
Because I think, like, to Kathy's point, too, and we talked about this in our committee meeting, it's not if you're going to be disabled, it's when. Because really, like, all of us eventually will have some type of disability, whether it's visible or not.
Yeah, and I was going to jump on that too and say to make the survey broad so that people
Yes.
think about things like, well, yeah, sometimes I can't hear as well. Not
Right.
that it's, a disability that's
Right.
normally recognized, I guess.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the other thing too is I think we should think about the word accessibility. And that's not showing up yet in the statement that we have. I love our statement, but I think we've got to broaden it a little bit so that it does address that. So I think you'll see some of that coming up in the next few months or so.
And I think this is like perfect timing too because of budgets coming up. And we just talked about, for example, the front doors. And we had that discussion in the last meeting about the reason why we want the double slide versus a rotating door. And that has a lot to do with what you've garnered from this book, but then it affects what we spend on our budget, what we're going to plan for the future. Because even in Oakland County, I mean, they're predicting that by 2030, our population of seniors is going to surpass population of school-age children.
That's already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened. So we have to
Right. We have to prepare
move
for
with
that. Right, exactly.
Yeah, we have to prepare.
Ryan or Ajita, did you guys have anything you want to?
Actually, it touched my heart, literally. And for me, I'm a very patient person, very patient, calm, nice. But then I thought all these different things came up. I said, does my kid understand all these things? I said, okay, let me give him a chance. And I started asking him some questions. So what do you think about this? He said, oh, that's fine. I'll just let them know. So I said, go, read this book.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go.
Because they need to know how patient they need to be.
For sure.
And they need to think about different people, different disabilities. It's not only, like old people or whatever. It's like you have to think. So it really touched my heart.
Oh, good.
I found it interesting the way the progression through the book, only because you started with something very visible, a service animal, and somebody that needs so you've got possibly a blind person, possibly an epileptic person, but they have a service animal and so forth, and your solutions were simpler. And then it kept getting more complex and more complex until it's landed on one that we really haven't discussed much at all, and that's identifying learning disabilities.
Right.
how do you handle that? Is it, how do you address that? It's not something that can simply be done by somebody asking questions.
Right.
It can't be, so it's really, I really found it, the way that the author developed that, I found it very interesting.
Yeah. Good. Anybody else about ahas or?
Well, picking up a little bit on what Kathy said earlier about there are so many different types of disabilities that are out there that we don't, we recognize maybe 4 or 5 main disabilities, and the book talked about 4 or 5 disabilities, but there are so many different types of disabilities, and I think the library, just the nature library, is a wonderful place that usually is patient, is helpful, allows for questions, provide, so libraries are sort of a good starting point, and I think we're doing a good job. I think there's a lot more we can do. But it's sort of, I want to sort of sum it up in, it's sort of like reasonable accommodation. Is that without really knowing what the disability is, let's just try to be reasonable and accommodate. And that's the helpful nature of most librarians, that, you can't find something, we'll help you find it. It's too high up on the shelf, we'll reach for you. We have all sorts of things around, ask if you need help, and it's like, you don't even have to know sometimes what the disability is, just to be helpful and to be kind and considerate and patient. Just reasonably accommodate the needs of the people.
Great.
Yep. All right. Well, our second question asks about what idea or ideas, either from the attached document that the staff created or your own, do you believe we should prioritize as we continue to move forward with our efforts to provide the best possible experiences for our community members? And for me, I will always kind of defer to the staff in a way. I have an education background, and we had
They got it pretty well.
That's
mapped
right,
out.
that's right. I come from an education background, and we had a guy come talk to us once named Jimmy Cassis, and he had a phrase called "trust the trenches," and I just love that, The ones who are there doing the job, the ones who are working with the patrons, and as Lori showed up, they have so many ideas already that I feel like, personally, for me, my big thing would be to be supportive, whatever they, kind of run with the directions that they think are going to be most helpful for our patrons. So that's my idea.
I do think it's helpful, however, once you get a few of these things done, and it's sort of, will sort of forget about it and won't think about it anymore, but I think it's something that you need reminders about.
Absolutely.
I think it's something that needs to be brought up maybe in future staff training or whatever. You need to have a section about it, because there's always some new thing out there that we never thought about, or some new glitch, or maybe some new help that we could provide. So I think you can't just forget about it after we read the book.
I think that's true. I'm gonna jump in with that too, because I had a similar thought in that when I was an assistant principal, I had a staff member who worked with the ELL students. And I'd be creating schedules for stuff and doing stuff, and she'd come and say, okay, what about the ELLs? And I'd be like, oh my gosh. And I was embarrassed because it took quite a few times before I started making notes. Don't forget to figure out how they're affected, because it's not right in front of me. So I think, to your point, that is something that we have to make a conscious effort to keep reminding.
Yeah, and I think maybe on a quarterly basis or whatever's most convenient to the staff, Julie, just keep us updated, because this sheet is amazing. They designed it to kind of keep track of the goals themselves. And then when we met, I was like, whoa, there's a lot that they want to do right away. I think they have to kind of space this out.
Kind of gung ho.
We had a wonderful conversation about that today. What I told the staff today was, there is a lot. This is amazing, right? All this. But I also don't want them to feel the pressure that somehow all of this has to be done.
That's right.
And also you want to be genuine, right, in the work that we do.
It's not
And
a
if
checklist.
just a couple things come out of it, we've already looked and taken a step, right?
That's right.
To doing something better. So I would like to call out Sarah Momini, who is the new chair for DEI for the staff, and I think she's got great ideas and is very detailed in terms of keeping this wonderful committee. The committee is comprised of librarians, facilities staff, myself, support services staff, so we cover all the departments so that everyone, there's representation from everyone from the building. And they're providing really good information, that we can look at. But I want you to know that, yeah, I feel like it takes time, just even looking at furniture, we've grown. And we've moved tables around because we didn't want to lose tables. We wanted to have more seating, right? But that's tightening up things a little bit. And so we're not the same footprint we were 15 years ago because of that. And we need to look, can an actual wheelchair, it can, but we've got a couple things I think we should be looking at and moving a little bit. And we might be marking the carpet to keep furniture. We are very flexible and we don't mind being that way. And furniture gets moved all the time. So if we have something on the floor, that'll be a reminder to us to get it back to where it should be, right? So little things like that. But yeah, it's been a great group. What I appreciate is the time from the committee to, give us a little bit of focus. And also all of the committees, which you'll see over the next couple months, I've asked them to put a purpose to their committee. So when they share that with the staff who might not be in that committee are understanding the work that's being done out of the committee. So you'll see, we did some brainstorming today, but we don't have it finalized, but you'll see an actual purpose to what DEI will be working on from a staff perspective as well.
Super.
Yep.
Anyone else have thoughts of priorities?
Well, I want to thank all of you for doing this because this was new to this board to try, and I hope we can do more conversations like this. I think this is a nice way to, not only do business, but also have a little bit of a conversation that pulls all your ideas, thoughts, and just perspectives in from a community perspective. Maybe this will help you have a conversation with someone in your community as well, or your neighborhood, and then you're bringing in that voice. So thanks so much for trying this with all of us.
Thank you. And I think maybe in our next committee meeting, Carla, maybe we can go over the webpage on the MPL site to maybe help the staff update it.
Super,
Because it hasn't been updated in a long time.
Yeah,
And I
that'd be
feel like these initiatives are perfect for that.
Okay,
So.
I love it.
Just so you know, the DEI committee staff will look at some of the public policies, especially the patron behavior policy, things like that, and maybe bring some suggestions over the next few months that could end up coming to policy committee and then up to the board if there's some changes that they see. So, thank you.
One last thing, just on this page 110, I don't know if
Yes.
you were going to talk about it later, about the donations from
You go right ahead.
that patron,
Yes.
and just the wonderful things that you were able to put together. And again, talk about the timing of everything being, just coming together like very serendipitous. But I'm wondering, were they made aware that this was something the staff was looking into, this book, Julie? Or was that?
They weren't made aware of it until after,
okay.
until the meeting we had.
Oh, okay.
That was shared in part, but
Yeah.
this
Great.
came out of it. So the book they had read,
Yeah.
then ideas came based on,
Right,
Yes.
wonderful.
Yep.
Nice.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Item B, under the president's report, I'm happy to report, as shown on page 17 and 18, the libraries came out fairly well this year with the budget. I think some of the money came from Michigan that had been probably taken away or withheld at the federal level to, especially the $900,000 that went to MEL. So, but overall, I think that was a good year in the budget for libraries. Yeah. Activities, I'll try to do this in chronological order if I have my dates straight, but first of all, Julie and I had dinner with a number of the people from the library on September 18 that had received awards for outstanding service. That was enjoyable for me. Got to meet a few of the staff members, a little bit more personal, and I got a good sense of people working at the library kind of like what they're doing. They're happy and they enjoy what they're doing. It was a good feeling, and so that was nice. Also, September 21, Sunday afternoon, we had an open house that was, in my opinion, well-attended. I'm not sure whether the cider and donuts were the bigger attraction or the scavenger
I think
hunt. Both seemed to be
it was
hot.
Brian and myself.
Oh, it was Brian and Lori handing out the donuts and the cider.
Had nothing to
That's
do
what
with
it
the cider and donuts.
was. But anyway, that I think was very successful. I don't know if you had any numbers or anything, Julie, but that,
Just under 200.
okay, so.
Despite the weather. Yeah, despite the weather. And I will say too, during the open house, the history room was open, and we had the Matt Moran's General Store available for people to come and look at, and the kids were fascinated. Children that came and wanted to see it, and it was really hard for them to keep their hands away from the moving things around. And we had several suggestions. I don't think they realized that we know your thoughts about what should be in a general store is one thing, but what was in Matt Moran's store was what you see, So it's a story that needs to be told, I think. So on October 27th? No, 6th. Yep, October 22nd, on a Wednesday, we're doing a program, Randy Van Wagenen and I are doing a program about Novi Four Corners and what was there with the highlight of Matt Moran's store and what was inside his store. So you should all come.
Yes.
You'll learn.
Well, for the questions I got at the front desk, the History Society was number 3. Behind the coffee and the cider and the donuts.
Donuts
But
first,
I
yeah.
really had a lot of questions where that was and where to see it for history. I want to alert everybody to this presentation going on October 14 at Story Point about fraud protection, which is certainly a heavy topic these days that the Novi Library and some other people are sponsoring. It's at 1:30 on October 14. And then also want to mention for all the high school students out there, there is a Veterans Day contest for the high schoolers to write an essay on a few things about generation and what it means to be a veteran, and that those are due October 20. And the winner will get to read their essay on November 6th at the Veterans Day celebration. And our director is one of those judges, and the mayor is one of the judges who will be having to read all these essays.
I know.
Anyway, so
I'm
they're
happy
due
to.
October 20, and the winner will get to read their essay on November 6. And the last thing that I want to mention, which has already been alluded to, is we're having our 65th anniversary on October 26, 1 to 5, Sunday afternoon, and all invited. There'll be a great celebration, 65 years of this library. And we thank a number of women 65 years ago who just kind of went door to door and cleaned out their closets and put a few books together, borrowed a few books, paid for a few books to start what was, I think, initially the Friends.
Yes.
And then that year became officially a library.
Correct, yeah.
So,
I was able to put some history, as you can see. You have some really good information that I tried to
That was
provide to you so that in case you're asked any details, or you're in an elevator, you might share. So, yes.
And I'll open it up to the other board members if they've had any activities they've attended recently or that's coming up in the future they want to alert us to.
Well, I was going to comment on the 65th anniversary party, but you've covered everything. So I hope everybody can go. It's going to be really great. And the Historical Commission is going to have their room open. And I had never been in there. And after one of our meetings, Kim Nice and Ray Manella took me on a little tour, and it was so interesting. And I saw the Matt Moran store. And I think everybody will, if you guys haven't seen it, you need to go, anybody. So it's very interesting, the Historical Committee's room.
I
And
mentioned
come celebrate with us.
Also, other than Lori and I in the cider and donuts room, one of the other highlights was the quilt that is being raffled off by the Novi Friends. I think it's going to be somewhere next week behind the,
It's already up.
it's already up. They already have tickets?
Yep.
Okay. There are tickets available to purchase.
Yep.
You don't have to be present to win. It's really done very nicely. It will be a throwback machine to all the T-shirts that you've worn for summer reading for about the last 5 or 6 years. But it's a very nice, high quality quilt. So
I'm hoping that we get lots of, $10 a ticket for people to purchase to win. I did put it out on Mishlib, which means it went across the state.
Nice.
And I invited libraries because it's not Novi related, it's Michigan and library and book lover related.
Great.
So, yes, so but it is hung, it's beautiful on the wall.
Julie has donated her entire paycheck.
Well, I started. I'll be buying more.
Wasn't the Friends also doing something for the 65th anniversary, as far as fundraising goes?
Well, they're doing that. They'll be doing a raffle after that as well. And then we have a campaign of $65,000
Yeah.
that we'd like to raise kicking off at the party for the year.
Okay.
And that will go towards, we hope, the new renovation that we can plan for in the future for our youth area, because it's been 15 years. And children have changed.
Yeah. Aren't we a little over halfway there?
We are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Anything else, activities, past, future? If not, I'll move into the treasurer's report. Brian?
okay, nothing much has changed on the treasurer's report. I would like to note that you'll see the financials are still listed with the hope of the changes in 2007. Last meeting, we reported that we thought we were going to be meeting with council in the next week. That did not happen. We are still working on trying to meet with council on these items. We do not have a date. But be aware that those items that are in yellow, especially in the revenue side, those are not real unless we do get some type of an agreement with council, which will mean we've also talked in the finance committee about various cost savings measures that are going to have to take place in the budget if those numbers do not come to fruition. We've talked about things like what day of the week we're going to close down. So there's some very serious things. Again, we're still reaching out to council. We're told that we're going to be able to get some information from Victor Cardenas' offices to schedule things, but have not seen it as of yet.
We're working on some dates and things are coming into the future. Yep.
But if this situation continues for the next couple months in January, have some thoughts to what you want to cut. So that's it.
I can also report to you that I did turn in your approval of the first quarter over to the city. And you'll probably see that. It should be ready and approved. The new numbers will reflect that when you look at your actual revenue and expenditure report for next month. That should happen, should be there.
Okay,
Yep.
and that's why this month we didn't see, it was on the original budget,
Right.
not the amended budget.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You are correct.
Okay. I will just, do you have anything else, Brian?
Nope, that's.
I'll just make an observation, and I feel kind of dumb. I've been looked at this for years and years and years. And I've never noticed it until I was looking at the budget this year, that the library doesn't get any revenue from the July taxes.
It takes a while.
I think we get it all in December. It doesn't, the taxes don't show up until December for the year.
I think they show up I think they show up after the audit, like in October. Which would be the November meeting for October. I think we might see it then. But it does take, you are
Well,
correct, it takes a few
I'm not talking
months.
about the audit, I'm just talking about revenues coming in. When we
Oh.
pay our summer taxes, none of that goes to the library. The taxes for the library come out in December, and that's why the revenues are very minimal in the first couple months, even though we have our expenditure, we have our regular expenditures.
I thought it was, I can double check that for you, because I thought it was summer, but they don't actually like post it right away. It takes a couple months for it to show. So I can double check for you.
I look at my summer tax bill,
And you didn't, it
and there's
wasn't on
nothing
it?
for the library in the summer tax bill. It's all school or other city things.
You're not separate, it's in with a larger, it doesn't call out.
It doesn't call out the library?
It does not. I
Okay.
don't believe so.
Maybe that's why
Yeah.
it struck me different this year. But
Yeah,
because
I will double check that, but I'm almost positive it's,
that we're into
it's summer.
October and we don't get it until, we don't know what we got in July.
I don't think they've posted it yet. Like, they're
Until-
getting it, but they haven't posted it. But I will double check that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's certainly not singled out in the summer tax bill.
Right.
Now, if it's lumped in with other things for the city, that may be the case.
I think it is. And
Okay.
I will
That will explain it.
confirm that for you.
Because I was looking at, it seems like, wow, our expenditures are so in excess of our revenues for the first couple of months. And I say, well,
And
that's
that's-
because the revenues don't come in until later.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll double check that for you. Absolutely.
And I had a question, and if I may
Sure.
bother you with it, one more question.
Yep.
There were notes on the back that I didn't quite understand. On page 32.
Oh, yes. So that is me letting you know, or Bindia. Hold on one second. I know what you're talking about.
Well, one says the budget is suggesting a fund balance use of $93,000 to offset
Right.
expenditures in the June 30.
Because the audit hasn't been completed. So I gave you what we think are final numbers, but the audit hasn't been done. So for June 30th of 2025, the 24-25 271 budget is suggesting a fund balance usage of $93,437. If you look at the end of, if you look at the first column on page 29, and it's in red, 93,437.72.
First column,
Yep.
page 29.
Yep.
Give me a minute, sorry.
So that's what we think is going to be the suggested, I put that note in, but we haven't had it audited yet. The audit is still going. And then the second line is for 272, which you will see on page 31, and that's the 1,202. That's a suggestion of that being fund balance usage.
It's
Yeah.
about $100,000 short, which is what we
Correct.
discussed.
That change, what used to be a $113,000
Correct.
number? Okay, that's
Yes.
the number I had.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 93 instead
Right.
of 100. Okay.
Yep.
Now I understand. I was wondering if that was in addition to what we had.
No.
But that's the new
Yes.
guest number.
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
Until audit is official. Correct.
okay. Now I understand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mark, on 33, did you see this 3.6 million in red?
On page 33. Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? It says current taxes receivable.
Receivable.
Well, I see that, but I don't know whether they're coming in July or December.
And
I
I'll
can't
get-
tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't think it's posted yet, but I think that's,
Okay,
basi-
okay.
yeah. And
Now,
I will.
it's
I will
just a
confirm
question
that.
of whether they bill it in December or
Absolutely.
they bill it in June.
Yep.
And I thought, had they billed it, well, it's really July.
July.
They're due in July.
Right.
That I thought if that had been there, we'd have seen it already. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the annual number.
Yep.
I was just, but at a month-to-month basis, it doesn't show.
Right, no, and it usually takes a while. I have noticed that in the fall, it usually takes a couple months before it actually shows up. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
you're welcome.
Okay. In that case, director's report.
Hi. All right, we have our November anniversaries. I'm very excited to announce Bill Bebenek of 25 years with our library. He is on our facilities team. He is so wonderful. He's on vacation, but we do, I got a great question, I thought, from Trustee Burke about do we recognize and celebrate? And we do. We do it with the city, in conjunction with the city and city employees. So there will be a celebration, there's a gift and everything, and we make sure that he is recognized and that will be coming. We're always a month ahead when it comes to anniversaries because I want to be what's coming up, so that will be coming. I'm coming on 18. I don't know what happened. Jamie's 18. So that's
You can track it by teams.
yes, that's how I track it. So yeah, very excited. Boy, have we done some great things. I absolutely love this library and working for all of you. So, and I just have a great staff and we're doing great things. We've got a lot to celebrate this year and it's a lot of fun, really is. So thank you for everything. It's been wonderful. Lisa Wrinkle is celebrating 9 years. She's in our support services department, specifically with tech services. And Josefa Casas, 3 years. She is with our information services team. She is one of our technology assistants. She's amazing. Everybody's amazing. Mallory Lindeman is 2 years. She's celebrating with our information technology team. She's in our iCube, if you've noticed her on the floor. And Sid Erickson, he is celebrating 2 years, support services and information technology. Sid works a few hours in support services and a couple hours with IT. So we've got some cross learning going on and cross training. So very exciting. So happy anniversary to our staff for November. And then moving forward, I finally got a photo from the gala. So there is our thank you to all of our trustees and staff that attended the gala in August at Fox Run. It was so great. And then I put in the professional development survey results for you so you could see how our day went. If you saw, which I appreciate from the staff, some people saying, hey, do we have to do customer service? And I get that. This year was very much devoted to customer service. We had a new plan, we had a committee, and I know that some of the ideas they're looking for in the future is, can we do this kind of training? What we'll go back to is more like a conference type, where they can choose different tracks and choose different topics that will be of interest to them. So we'll go back to that and it not be just so focused on one particular topic. But it was very relevant, and the customer service team, the committee, did a great job. But yes, we'll get to more variety coming up for
I loved
this
one
new
of the
year.
comments there where she said, I have never worked somewhere where they provided so much, and I appreciated it a lot. I thought, oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
But I have one question for you.
Sure.
What in the world is, this person said, I loved the Kiss My Glass activity. What was that?
So we brought in a person who does stained glass, like melting glass.
Yeah.
We all got to do an art project where you could create either your own mosaic, and you could be abstract and do your own style, or you could do books on a little shelf, and you use pieces of glass and it melts, so you have to very carefully set the pieces into a design. Then she takes it, she heats it, and it melts together. So we all ended up with a piece of artwork that we created for about an hour. We all did an art project together. What did you do? You did the bookshelf. I did too. But other people, it was amazing to see people just take colors of glass, little tiny pieces, and create some kind of design on it if they did an abstract. Someone did a sunset, and just so neat how the colors, and then the glass melts for the design. But yeah, so we did something creative where it wasn't
Kiss
just
My Glass. I never heard anything
and
like
that's
that.
the name. That was the name of the company. We like the name of the business too. We thought that was fun. But they were amazing. So they came in and they showed us how to put it together and walked us through.
Must have
Finished
gone over.
product, is it like a window?
We all have one. Yes, and it's about 3 by 3, maybe about 3 by 3, and so we can hang them at home or in our offices. Yeah. So we all have our own piece of artwork. Yes. Great question.
This seemed so meticulously organized, and did you do that, or someone on the staff, or?
The report? Or what?
Well, the whole thing, the whole day.
Oh, well, it's a committee, so it's not one person. The report was put together by Kristen Sullivan, our HR specialist. But we have, again, representation from all the departments, and what does the day look like? What do, the speakers, the topics, things like that. We want them to enjoy, yeah.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Getting back to acronyms that we were talking about
Yes.
before. What is AAPI?
Oh, Asian American Pacific and Indigenous.
Oh,
And
okay.
thank you, Islanders, AAPI, yes. Yes, I know. I should have spelled it out, I tried
I didn't
to,
even know what context it was. Now it makes sense. I didn't
Okay.
understand the entire sentence.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? So there's some great information there, so you can see how the day played out. It was wonderful. I do appreciate us being able to close. Thank you for that day. I mean, we really just focus on us. And it's great for us just to, network and sit together and get to know each other. You see comments about, I really appreciate being able to talk to someone that I don't necessarily work with every day. So,
Right.
yeah.
See, that,
It's all valuable.
thought never crossed my mind.
We're open and we're working. You don't
Yeah.
always,
What was your biggest takeaway or what was the staff's biggest takeaway, do you think, from the day?
I think what they appreciate is the camaraderie and being able to just, work, be able to be not working. They get some training, and I do make sure that we do have something like that, focused on it. But I do think it is just about being together
Yeah.
and just having a day where they can just,
That's okay.
share.
Yeah, that's good. I think that the team building ideas were great.
And management did something a little different from some of the other staff, but then we came together and also did some learning. Also scenarios, they took the time to walk through different customer service scenarios and put themselves, with a way to, how can I respond better to something? Because you don't always get a chance to practice that, and that's helpful too.
Yeah, for sure.
And those all came from the committee, they identify different topics and different situations that have come up, and how can you address it and how can you respond better?
Yeah, I think there was at least one person, maybe more, that said they were uncomfortable
Yeah,
during that.
Right.
Well, it would make you
would,
uncomfortable,
right.
for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
But practice
Right,
really helps.
yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can, by doing it with your peers and your colleagues that you might be working with, maybe that'll help ease it a little bit before you're actually dealing with an actual patron, so, yeah. But it is about shutting down for just a day where we could just be all together. We're never all together at one time. It's 2 shifts, and it's Monday through Sunday. So, we have Sunday librarians that only work on Sunday, so they don't get to see the other team members very often either. So it's always a great day.
Cool.
Let's see, what else we got? You saw the water main break?
That was
I'll
fun.
tell you what, that team, I was literally,
We saw the water.
you saw that we had it, right? I was literally driving out of town, but the staff was amazing. Within 30 minutes, we had everything communicated with what we needed to do and to shut down and to, deal with what we had to do at the building and then to be reopened for tomorrow and what was the plan. We have a great team. So everybody works very well together and responds very quickly.
The one comment, that particular night, I came to drop off a book,
Yeah.
but the automatic book return was closed.
Yeah.
Did they have to close it for one day, that they couldn't keep the automatic book return going for one day?
No, I didn't even know it was, so I'll double check.
I read that somewhere,
Okay.
that it was closed that day.
Okay,
Yeah.
And I know that we have a problem on the weekend because of 2 or 3 days,
right,
that it's hard to, we fill up the buckets, so to speak.
right.
But I kind of question.
One day.
Well, the one day,
Yeah.
if there was something unusual going on, because I would have thought that would have been open.
I'll double check
for a
on that.
one-day shutdown.
Okay, yep. Thank you.
I have a dumb question.
There are no,
Staff gets paid for that, right?
they do,
Yeah.
Everybody
yes.
gets paid?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone who was scheduled to work,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Because it's us making that decision.
that's what I
If
thought.
someone would have called in prior, and called off,
Yeah.
let's say they called in and they called off sick, they wouldn't have been paid because they had already called in prior to that call being made. But if they weren't and the call was made, then they are, yes.
Oh, you're talking about the water main, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought
Flooding.
you meant the professional development.
Yeah. Everyone's paid for professional development too.
For the cafe,
Yes.
how many days was it affected? It was several days that it was affected, right?
It was
of
because
the
that was
boiled
water specific, yes.
Yeah.
And then they had to come in, we had to make sure that all the lines were flushed out and
Okay.
everything, and they
Okay.
had to run their ice machines and stuff
Yeah,
multiple
they had to
times
get-
before they could open. So they were
Yeah.
more affected than we
It was a
were.
good learning experience.
More than you want to know.
So yes, they were shut down a few more days.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's tough on them when that happens, so,
Yeah.
okay, thanks, Julie.
You're welcome. Let's see, then page 47, 65th, which we've talked about, which is amazing. Looking forward to that coming up. Lots of different reports from different departments. If there's anything that I can answer for you, I did point out to you, I wanted you to have some really good information about the history of the library. So page 77, Sue Johnson put this together, who's the president of the Friends. And then, I know they're hard to read, but I just wanted you to see all of these
They're really good.
articles that were, from history and pulled from our archives about the library as well. So you have some really good information to just keep for yourself. It's great to read some of this information and remind ourselves from where we came from, right? And I'm happy to entertain any other questions if you have any.
I think after Sue wrote her first article, she got contacted by people that gave her a lot more information.
Yeah,
She did.
right.
Yeah.
And then we kept building it. It was
just kind of
great.
kept building on it. Yeah, it was interesting. Any questions of our director?
Thank you.
If not, thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
It's that point on our agenda for the second public comment. I don't see anybody in the public, so I won't repeat the instructions for presentation and public comment. Open it up to committee reports. Anybody want to speak as to their committee? That's something that's not coming up as a matter for library board action later on. If not, we're going to move on to matters for library board action. Pages 84 to 91, we have approval of a change to the circulation policy. I'll entertain a motion to start the discussion if there should be any.
Motion to approve?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the changes to the circulation policy, pages 84 through 91 in our handout. Any discussion?
I have a question. Actually, Julie, we've talked about this before when I used to work for a company in Novi, because my coworkers were asking, they're like, your library is the best, and I'm like, I know. And they wanted to get a library card there. In the non-residents employed in Novi part,
Yes.
under the non-standard cards,
Yes.
if they have a library card in another library, don't they just have to relinquish it? Okay.
Yes.
Because I don't know if we specified the relinquishing part. We just said that they can't get a card if they're not eligible, if they already are in a different library.
And the reason why it's kept vague is because we first have to know where they're from and if it's standalone versus not. So
Okay.
it's easier for us, to explain it and not have it written. I think
Okay.
it'd be more confusing.
Okay, gotcha.
But you are correct. We do look for, if you are working in Novi and you want a business card, you definitely can have one, but if you already had a card, I'm gonna use Livonia as an
Yeah.
example. Do you have a Livonia card? You'd have to relinquish your Livonia card in order to have the business card with Novi.
Okay.
Carl, our system and our consortium, asks that we not have multiple cards with the same person.
Okay.
It's just easier to keep track of, and so you'd be asked to do that.
The
So
only-
we tend to say to them, where do you think you're gonna do the most use of library, right? Where,
Right.
are you gonna visit library, your home library more and really go
Or
to
us
Livonia?
more.
Or do you think it's better for you because you're working 8 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week? And Novi, would it be more convenient for you to
Okay.
do that? So, yeah.
How does it affect the libraries that are not in the consortium? Are people even able to get card? They are not, right? They have to be a resident in order to get a card there.
Well, if there were, I mean, do you mean from a business perspective from?
Yeah, I guess like.
So if they didn't have a card at all, a library card?
Yeah.
We would give them one based on the business, so it's Novi.
Okay.
And we would be working with their business in order for them to be responsible
For the
through the
business.
business.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question in regard to the renewals.
Yes.
I'm looking on page 88,
Yes.
Novi resident. It says, Novi resident adult library cards that are not blocked will automatically renew annually after the library. Does that really happen annually? I thought you got kicked to the front desk to verify your information.
Nope, we started the renewals, actually, I'm trying to think if it was
When we did
during
patron point.
COVID or just after COVID, but
Yeah.
we allow for renewal now. If you have nothing that would stop your card, it will renew for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't every year have to get an update, new card, and verify your, okay.
Nope.
I guess I'm
Yeah.
remembering the old rules.
Yeah.
And I like that, I like that.
Oh, absolutely. It's made things easier, but there tends to be things on people's cards, though, that will
Or
stop
maybe
them
that happens to me.
and make them come in. I mean, it's,
I
yeah.
gotta pay my fines.
It happens. Well, you don't have fines
Fine
anymore,
free
so
now.
that's
I'm
good,
just
but,
Fine free.
but yes, it should be renewing on its own if
Okay.
there's nothing that would question. Yep, that would be a question.
Okay, well, and I raised the question because I'm a little disappointed, I think, with our automatic, the percentage of usage of
Mm-hmm.
our automatic checkouts. You know, like, we're below 50%.
Right.
We're still.
I'm getting you that data, by the way.
Oh, okay, well,
Yes.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Because, well, what I've seen so far is it's like about 45 or 46%.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like 3 checkouts there, and I thought maybe part of the problem was every year people got kicked out of the automatic checkout and had to go and talk to a clerk, which apparently is not correct.
Right.
That did happen years and years ago,
Correct.
but it's not
It did.
happening anymore.
Right.
But I thought that may have contributed to, if a person comes to the library only a couple times a year and they automatically got checked out, that would create more work for those clerks
Right.
sitting at the front desk. And
Right.
that's
And
not the case, and I'm glad to hear that that's
Yes.
not the case. But I still think that it would be nicer if the automatic checkouts were used more. Now, that's something the patrons have to do.
Right.
But I think that's a low percentage of the automatic checkouts.
Yeah.
Maybe remind people about it in the newsletter.
Do we, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have, or on social media too, do we have instructions there or not? I take it for granted because I just do it.
Yes.
Do we have instructions to tell people? Because
Yes.
there's 2 barcodes in there, so.
Right,
They
because
might get
if you're
confused.
getting a material from another library,
Yeah.
you have to use a different barcode
Okay.
sometimes
Okay.
for it, yeah.
All right.
But, no, we can do reminders, absolutely, and I do have data for you. I was waiting on one of the libraries to actually get back with us.
Okay.
Mark, you had asked about self-checkout percentages in other libraries.
Yeah, those are super easy. I love them.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And, yep,
Nope, are you done with that stuff? Because mine's really,
Okay,
As
that's
always.
the only comment I have.
thank you.
as always, mine's a couple little editing things. So I
Yes.
don't know if we can make those and then approve it with a couple
Were you
little
school
changes.
teacher? Were you
Just,
school teacher?
You tell me.
just,
Yes.
just a couple things just for detail.
What do you got?
Like,
Yes.
first, Southeast should be capitalized for Southeast Michigan on the very first page.
Oh, hold on, let me go.
Southeast Michigan-based library consortium.
So you're, okay, yes.
So that should be capitalized, Southeast Michigan. And then, just for consistency's sake, on page 85, under examples of proof of residency include 90 days. You've been doing 90 in parentheses around the number,
Oh, yes.
right about halfway there.
Got it.
So again, just for consistency.
Thank
it's
you.
Not necessarily incorrect, but
Nope.
you did it that way other places.
I appreciate it. I'll tell you what, there's lots of words to make sure that we.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just,
Very good, thank
Yeah.
you.
That's it?
yeah, I think so.
Well, the policy came to the policy committee and thus to the board because of the additions on page 91. And we met this morning, the policy committee met this morning, and it is our recommendation that we approve the policy. I will let Julie, as she's so eloquently explained to us this morning why they wanted to put this portion of the policy in place.
Right. So we wanted more information for the public, for auditing purposes and to be careful with taking credit cards and different payments. We wanted this information. We're requiring a signature. But we're not allowed to touch that credit card. So it's really important for it to be in writing to tell people that they have to, exchange, that they have to use it and do it, and it be contactless as well. And that's from all the new ways that we're doing this. Another question that came up is, we're not mentioning different types of contactless payment. We don't want to do that because we'd like to keep the policy as generic as possible and not have to change. You never know, those vendors can change over time. So we're using contactless, but you have Apple Pay, and those are examples of it, but we don't want to put that in there and then have to change it if something were to also change. But this is more from an auditing perspective and staying very consistent with, as we handle money, that it's understood that we won't be touching your credit card unless you actually give us your credit card to use, you give us the permission, and that keeps us from
Sure.
getting into trouble,
Right.
right?
Makes sense.
So, yeah. So it's important that, the staff was looking for some language like that, but it also, there was a little bit of requirement from the credit card
Okay.
industry when putting this together.
So if we have a patron that needs assistance, they can just say, I give you permission to
Right,
use this.
we'd be making
Okay.
sure that they're comfortable with doing that.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
So it's making, it's making sure it's,
Yeah.
for us, the safety of it and
Sure.
touching it and not having someone, and we had an issue a few months ago where we had someone that was, had contacted us saying, my credit card was used at the library, and we had to go back and look, and it was signed. So
Oh, wow.
that's another reason why we're requiring the signature, and we can go back and we have proof that there was a signature that allowed for that transaction.
Okay,
Wow.
Yep.
okay.
There's so much fraud going on.
Right,
yes.
And so
right.
we're trying to be as careful as possible,
It's
even in the
getting-
library.
Yep.
It's getting more and more sophisticated.
Yes, it
And
is.
it looks more and more real.
Yep.
And so it's tough.
I know.
So is this, the payment information, is that saved anywhere in the library database?
Which information?
The payment information?
No, we do not keep any of it.
Nothing,
No.
right?
Nope. Yep. You don't want to be liable for any of that either.
Yeah, right.
And what about online payment? No.
It's not kept.
Okay, good.
So what do we do?
Any other discussion?
Do we need to have a new motion, though, because of those couple little details?
Well, I guess I'm the maker of the motion,
Okay.
and I agree to the changes.
Okay.
Great.
So I don't know if we have to,
And does the seconder agree?
A seconder agrees to the grammatical changes.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did I say that right?
Then I think we're set without a new motion.
Okay, super.
No other discussion? Secretary, will you take the vote?
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Helvangus says yes. Trustee Gavalapu.
Yes,
Trustee Stirring.
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett.
Yes.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
And Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mark, I just realized I didn't give you any information about the communication on page 111, but there is communication. I just happened to look at it. I'm like,
Well, I saw
yes,
111.
yes.
I was looking at that.
yes, I apologize. I did not cue you up with some info
You
there.
forced us to look at the page itself.
But there is a communication there, and it's a thank you.
And it's always,
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you, the
Thank you,
masses.
Amy.
Okay.
Always
Yes.
thank you, Amy.
The Math Kangaroo Competition 2024. Great, that's nice to see.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
really
it
cool.
is.
Very
You pointed
impressive,
that
in
out.
fact.
I know. I said, can we put this name in? Are you comfortable with us sharing? Yes, they were. So,
With that communication, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Support? Whoops,
We do a show of
Brian
hands.
did it.
thank
Any
you,
opposition?
everyone.
thank you.
Unanimous.
Wonderful.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you.
shirt.
You're welcome.